Hey, gathering. Welcome to another devotional on the I am statements of Jesus as we go through the book of John. And today we're talking about another famous passage of Jesus from John chapter 10, where Jesus says, I am the sheep gate, or I am the door. And that's kind of a confusing metaphor for us when we think about it. He had been in this passage starting at the beginning of John 10 talking about the fact that he's the good shepherd and that his sheep know his voice and he comes to them. Now there were two different kinds of sheep pens in Palestine. One was the city kind that had a gate kind of like this. Well, probably didn't look anything like this, but it was an actual gate, and there was a gatekeeper, and he would let different shepherds in and out, and they would call out to their flock, and the sheep knew his voice. And Brad's going to be telling us more about the Good Shepherd tomorrow. But then he goes on later in the passage and he mentions the fact that he himself is the sheep gate. And when he says this, starting in verse 7, so Jesus said to them, I say to you, I am the door to the sheep. All who came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. But I came that they may have life and that they may have it abundantly. And so in this particular metaphor, Jesus is saying, I'm the door. So in the mountain areas or out when they would take the sheep to pasture up on the mountainside, often at night they would be ready to sleep and they needed to keep the sheep safe. And so they had built walls of stone and they would leave the end open. And the shepherd would actually, because it was an opening, he would be there. Yes, believe it or not, I have a shepherd's staff. He would be there and he would stand here. Once he let all the sheep in and counted them, made sure they were there, he would lay down in the opening itself. He became the door. And that's why this particular metaphor, though it's kind of lost on us, is not lost on the original audience, because they knew what these sheep pens looked like. And so when Jesus said, I'm the door, they understood that he was the way and he was the entrance into that safety, into that place of rest. So what does this have to do with us right now? Well, a lot of people think there's a lot of different ways to come and be right with God. Some people, in fact, the original audience, the Jews believed it was their own personal righteousness that allowed them to have a right standing with God. And you see that belief system is alive and well today. When you talk to somebody and say, why do you think you're going to be with God in eternity? They say, well, I'm a good person. And their righteousness, they think, is going to give them access to God. And other people may think, whether it's you or someone you know, maybe they think all pathways lead to God. Maybe if you're Hindu, or if you're Muslim, or if any number of belief systems that we have in the world today, they're all kind of the same and they all lead to God. That's a very popular belief system. But this parable kind of puts an end to all of those thoughts, because Jesus is saying, you know what? There's only one way, and it's through me. If you don't believe in me and who I am and what I came to do, then you will not have entrance into my rest, into my peace, into my family. Honestly, Christianity today is offensive because it's exclusive, right? Jesus is saying, and this, we have to remember, this is not just a prophet showing the way. Jesus himself is God of the universe, and he's saying, I am the way. I am the only entrance into eternal life. This passage parallels that one that you're going to hear about later, where Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me, right? He is saying it's exclusive and you have to come through me in order to know peace and rest and be right with God. So what do we do with this idea? I love the way that Peter puts it in 1 Peter chapter 2. He says, so the honor is for you who believe, But for those who do not believe, the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone, and a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense. And that's what we've been talking about. It is offensive to those who think they can earn their way in a different path to God, to say that they have to believe in Jesus. That's an offense, and some people can't get past that in any way, shape, or form. So what is our job when we encounter that? I love what Peter goes on to say in verse 9. He says, "But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." Right? Our job is to proclaim his excellencies and to point to the gate, not this kind of gate, but the Good Shepherd. To point to him and say he is the only way that you're going to come to find true peace in this world and the next. So if you're here today and you don't know Christ, what is keeping you from going to the Shepherd? Take some time, talk to someone who knows Jesus, and really spend some time exploring what it means to be a follower of Christ. It seems so easy in a lot of ways, but he's the one that you have to come to and say, "Lord, I'm a sinner. Please forgive me. Help me to live no longer for myself, but to live for you." If you're here today and maybe you're skeptical about all this, maybe you're unsure of who he is, but you so desire to know what it means to be a follower of Christ, it's not that difficult, because he's the gate. You need to go to him and say, "Lord, I may not understand all of this, but I am tired of trying to live this life for myself. It's empty." And you need to just admit your need of him, admit that you're a sinner, and ask him into your life so that you would live for him and not for yourself anymore. I hope you enjoyed today's devotional. Don't forget to check out the questions below, and have a great week.